Good evening. City of Lamarque City Council, special agenda of September 3rd, 2024. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Lamarque, Texas will conduct a special meeting on September 3rd, 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. at Council Chambers at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas, as well as via video conference hosted through Zoom. In accordance with section 551.127B of the Texas Local Government Code, the presiding officer and a quorum of the Lamarque City Council intend to be and will physically be present at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas. This location will be open to the public, and this meeting will be broadcast at this location on Channel 16 and via YouTube. Council will meet for the purpose of considering the following agenda. The meeting has been called to order. Now, Kiara, would you give us a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilmember District A,
Present.
Councilmember District B,
Present.
Councilmember District C,
Present.
Councilmember District D,
Present.
and Mayor.
Present, thank you. I'd like to invite Mayor Pro Tem Joe Compion to lead us in our invocation tonight, as well as Councilmember Kimberly Yancey to lead us in our pledge. Stand if you're able.
We bow our heads. Gracious God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. Help us to gain clarity when there is confusion, and to also gain wisdom to do the work that you've set before us. We give you honor always and glory, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Compion and Ms. Yancey. Item 4, citizens' participation. Limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments from the public will be heard at this time. Any person with city-related business who is signed up may speak to council. Limited to 3 minutes. If you're wishing to speak, to give the mayor or the presiding officer your full legal name, address, and the item you wish to speak about. Compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act, the city may not deliberate on comments. Personal attacks will not be allowed. Personnel matters should be addressed to the city manager during normal business hours. Press *6 to mute or unmute yourself if you're participating via telephone. If you're participating via the Zoom platform with a smartphone, tablet, or computer, you may use the microphone portion the microphone icon in the lower portion of your screen. If you are here with us physically, you may approach the podium at the center aisle and you will be heard. And remember, we address this council as a whole. No personal attacks will be allowed. Kyle, are there any persons online wishing to speak? None that have signaled. None that have signaled. Are there any persons online wishing to speak? Very good. We move to those that are here in person with us tonight. Kiara, are there any persons wishing to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Move now to item 5, new business. Item presented to the council for discussion and possible action. 5.1, ordinance number letter O -2024-0016, amending the City of Lamarque American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds allocations. Kiara, is this the first reading?
Yes, sir.
This is the first reading of this proposed ordinance. Mr. Garcia, I believe you alluded to some sort of a presentation that you have for us tonight.
Yes, sir. I'm asking, please pull that up real quick for us. I apologize. But what we have is, following our budget meeting at the last budget meeting, we had a series of allocations that we could make possible in order to buy
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. That's her place. That's her place.
sorry. Kyle, could you try to pull up the sheet?
Yeah, so, close this so early.
Sorry.
You able to mute him, Kyle? Thank you.
What we're looking to upload is what you listened to in the presentation, Mayor, which was the sheet, the colorful sheet. I don't know where it is. You can just get it from the, if you can get it from the budget stuff, you can. I apologize. I'm having trouble locating it in there. Either way, the idea was that we knew that we had the possibility of some of those funds that are now available to be purchased through a savings through our utility fund, thanks in large part to the funds available through the Republic funds that we have been receiving. In addition to the fact that there were others of these items that we were looking to pretty much buy over the course of the next 2 years. And yes, that's the sheet. Yes, sir. As the sheet joins us on screen here, this was the sheet that we shared with you during the budget process. So you could scroll up to the green part there, Kyle. And what it was is right now we'd realized a proposed or estimated amount of surplus to show $637,076 from our utility fund. Although the total amounts of the 560, 725, 175, and the 15 equate to closer to 825,000, the idea was to use these savings partially from this year's budget as well as next year's budget to make a lot of these purchases that are shown. So we would cover the bond matches, skid steer, the excavators, the concrete saw to come out of the utility fund, freeing up to $860 total $1,000. In doing so, the items listed in white, red, and blue were going to be a way to deviate those funds and reallocate those funds, should you approve, to purchase a lot of the items that both police and fire brought forward and said that they needed for this upcoming fiscal year. So this was the same sheet that we shared with you on your actual presentation. What we did is we then took these items and moved them towards the allocation format, which is what you'd approved last time via ordinance. Kyle, could you now show the one that you just printed out for everybody? What we did is that was the proposed changes that we were going to bring forward, and now we added that to our actual sheet, which is what you have a printed copy in front of you now, and that we're now showing on the screen. So what needed to be done is we put a note next to what the changes were. So if you notice up top where it talks about grant funded or covering from the utility fund, that's where the expenses were backed out, with the proposed expenses by fiscal year being allocated in either blue or gold shaded to know when we were going to allocate those funds. So obviously the K9 in 2026 would be purchased in 2026, right? And so on and so forth. If you look down below, the most of those items that we were intending to have would be purchased in those fiscal years, with a very, very large sum of them coming from FY 25, which will be in just about a month. Assuming that you would approve these changes as shown in first reading tonight, and then in the subsequent second reading, PD and fire have already started pre-procuring some of these items, waiting for your approval, and then they will be brought forward to you for your approval since they're coming out of ARPA funding. Since most of these items fall outside of my threshold of $25,000. So what you have before you tonight is a reallocation of those funds pertinent to the budget presentation that was made and the colorful spreadsheet that we showed you just a moment ago. And this is the application of those changes as part of the ARPA allocation, not to exceed the 4.255 million that we've been funded. And there's your breakdown of how those funds would be allocated. Scroll
So,
up a little.
let's get this straight. So we can put everybody together. This council last year directed you to make recommendations on the allocation of our ARPA funds to support city operations.
Yes, sir.
You did that. We acted upon that. So we officially directed you to do that.
Yes, sir.
Because of an agreement that we made with Republic Waste to take care of their sludge, we have received compensation.
Yes, sir.
They have paid the city.
Yes, sir.
You've used those funds to meet some of the needs within the utilities department,
Yes, sir.
freeing up some of the ARPA funds that this council earmarked last year.
I'm proposing to do that.
Right.
I haven't done that yet. That's
Right. That's what tonight is about.
Yes, sir.
Right. And this council directed you to reallocate those freed up funds to meet some of the needs of our police and fire department.
Yes, sir.
Were there other needs
Subsequent-
that we directed you to allocate the additional funds to meet?
No, sir, this is the majority of the needs that were not already allocated through other grant funds, or that you did not allocate towards proposed general fund that you would vote on when passing the budget.
So everything on the sheet that we have before us
For this sheet, please.
and everything on the screen in blue were things that the ARPA funds were to cover, except for those that have notes on the side of them.
The ones with the notes on the side of them were the ones that we're going to take care of out of the utility.
Out of it, okay. But the rest of them are still ARPA?
Yes, sir. The rest of still ARPA and are going to be covered as such.
And the beige or yellow ones for 26 are still ARPA.
Yes, sir. They're still ARPA.
So is there a deadline for this council to officially allocate all ARPA funds?
Yes, Mayor. All ARPA funds must be allocated and procured before the end of this calendar year, so December 31st of 2024. We have set an internal deadline to have that done before the end of November. So we've set November 30th internally, so we have entire month to spare.
So tonight we're reviewing this proposed reallocation with the possibility of approving it. Is what we're doing tonight.
That is correct. And it has to come to you in 2 readings since it's allocation of grant.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page, those that are watching at home, those that are sitting in the audience. So let me ask you this. There was in the Public Works Department a piece of equipment that as we had conversations with Public Works, with those members of that staff, we figured out we didn't actually need because it would be such of an in-depth operation. It would be out of our depth. I don't remember the name of that piece of equipment, but I want to make sure that we've backed that out as well.
Certainly. So that's still in there as the zipper for an.
Is that what it was? The zipper?
It's the zipper. Mhm.
Okay.
And it's called asphalt zipper, but it's still in the budget for us to do some of that work, unless you want to remove it at this time.
Well, we were told by Public Works that that operation would be such an in-depth operation that it would really cause more problems for our staff members than it would benefit our residents. It was more involved and we needed more equipment actually to be able to use this equipment.
Yes, Mayor. So what the asphalt zipper would do is it would tear up the asphalt in preparation for any street work to be done. So it is this council's decision whether we would like to remove that or not. At this time, after speaking to Public Works, when they made their presentation, it depends on what phases we're going to do. If we're going to do the pre-work, which is what the zipper does, tearing up the asphalt to a certain grade, to a certain level. At that time, then we would either do that and then do the street work ourselves, or do that subsequently right before the street work gets done to save money on labor. So as of right now, we've kept that in here, but if it's the council's will to remove, we can easily remove that.
So you say, so basically, essentially you're saying we would use that piece of equipment and then the very next step of that process, we would start to outsource that, is what you're saying.
As of the current model that we have, because we don't have all the staff and the equipment and materials to do that budgeted for next year yet.
How common is that in other municipalities to stop at that point? And
Um,
what potential damage would we do to the street if we stopped at that point? And then, there were 30, 60, 90 days before we were able to get the next part of that reconstruction going.
The commonality of it, it depends. There's some cities that do it that way. There's some that don't. Our idea would be that we would do it in line with, once a vendor's already selected to do the street work. Once that decision's already been made that that's what we're gonna do, we would go start doing that work along the schedule, because we know that if we decide on a vendor tomorrow, they need time to mobilize, and so we would schedule that during the time when a PO has already been cut for a vendor.
Okay.
But please keep in mind too, I just want you to know that if we need to remove the zipper, that's fine. The true cost of the zipper, a piece of equipment, is, excuse me, $250,000, of which we were only equipping 50,000 under this, and we were going to take it on. It's because it's over 5 years. So it's 50,000 per year for 5 years. This quantity shown only shows for $50,000, which was covering the first year.
So what we have before us tonight is only 50 of the 250.
Yes.
That would be allocated in this round.
That was the total allocation the
Yeah.
entire time. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
So
we
only
ever
50.
brought for approval.
So last question, and then I'll open it up for council. I have been speaking with you in this public setting for at least 8 months about the idea of this council understanding the 3 or 4 things that Public Works does well, right? And us focusing on those things with our staff and then outsourcing the rest.
Yes, sir.
I'm concerned that this depth of reconstruction to a street may not be something that we do well, right? No offense to our Public Works Department. It just takes a tremendous amount of manpower to get to this level.
Sure.
So I'm considering that as we talk amongst ourselves, but I understand where you're coming from. Also, I'll step back and certainly if we have any questions for Mr. Garcia or any discussion amongst ourselves about item 5.1, we certainly can do that at this time. Anyone?
Mayor, before we open it up, if I could just comment on that.
Absolutely.
If the decision is made to do that, as you noticed, the MCTs item, we've only budgeted to purchase 15 of them. They cost $5,480. So that could easily be reallocated to those should you choose to do that.
Now tell me where are you? What line item?
I'd have to go. back to the-
What division? Public
It would
Works,
be under police.
Police? Now what
And
did you
it
say?
might be listed as MTCs or mobile command terminals.
Gotcha. I see them.
That
I see 'em.
amount shows, that's the price for 15 of them. They cost roughly $5,480 each. So you could reallocate those to buy technically 9 out of the 10 that additional we would need.
So we need 10 more.
Correct. So we have
We're ordering 15
from these funds, yes,
and we still need 10 more.
correct.
Thank you for that
If that's a-
recommendation.
If that's a will.
Hey, that's your recommendation. That's what you're supposed to do. So we get it. Council, I'll step back and we'll open this up to Mr. Garcia or discussion. Anyone?
Mr. Garcia, the solar powered trailer sign, that's one of those signs that just tells you the speed limit when you're going by, tells you your speed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think that
And
it really,
it's-
Go ahead.
If I can just explain, if you notice down below, some of those items, let's go down to adding handheld radios. They requested 50, we applied for 45 with grants. Adding in-car cameras requested 25, we applied for 10 from grants. Adding in-car radios requested 25, applied for 10 from grants. The idea, after speaking to PD about this, was that those items that are at the top, the solar powered trailer, even the 3D scanner, were secondary requests to first getting those other items that are more of a need. So if those items were not funded through these grants that we're applying for, then the idea would be to take care of those needs prior to, if that was a possibility.
Okay, I just, that's a lot of money. Was it $20,000? Let's see where it is.
It's 14,000. Now it'd be for
$14,000, but-
two. They're about 7,000 each.
It really serves no purpose. I mean, it tells you your speed when you go by. I mean, if we had an officer present, that would serve a purpose, but spending $14,000 when I think there's better money to be used on the equipment.
Certainly.
The concrete saw says $15,000. I'm just curious what kind of saw that is.
My understanding from the request from Public Works, it's a walk behind with the necessary water to go with it.
You could probably buy about 3 or 4 of them for that price.
I'm going by the price that was selected and provided by our Public Works team. If there's a cost savings there, you can certainly have a chance to go over on some of these other items. As you notice, we don't have enough to cover all the items that are listed here. For the most part, we've covered everything for red, for fire. But if you notice for blue, there is room for more funding to be available there. And we are allowed to do that because we know that procurement might be up to a certain amount, just like you're allowed to over allocate if you needed to, as long as the expenses don't exceed the total amount of the $4.2 million.
And then sidewalk repair, there's a $15,000. Do you know how much sidewalk you could repair for $15,000? You have any idea?
Well, I am aware. We had budgeted $50,000 repair because at the time we were getting quite a bit of complaints from different areas of the actual city. A lot of sidewalk repairs were done already in Delaney and Saltgrass, which we could not wait for this allocation of funding and then to properly procure under federal guidelines. So the recommendation that's made, if you notice in the green, is to drop that $35,000 from the original request of 50 to drop it to 15,000.
It's a lot of sidewalk.
Certainly.
A lot. So
Absolutely.
we'll use Delaney Cove since you used Delaney Cove. You're talking about 100 yards of concrete with that much money. Your average home in Delaney Cove with 3-foot beams around the house, perimeter beams and stuff is less than 100 yards.
Certainly.
So a concrete sidewalk is about 4 inches thick. So imagine how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet you could do with that. The software, I would strongly oppose anything going towards any software until we have an audit. And the reason being is we use QuickBooks at my business and we've switched to different types of QuickBooks. And each time we've lost data. So it's extremely problematic. And I'd say until we get an audit and everything is 100% accounted for, I would strongly oppose any type of software change to eliminate an accidental loss of anything. And then I also noticed $300,000 for community room, roofs, ACs and stuff. Wouldn't Barrel, we get FEMA money for that or?
We have not received FEMA money for Barrel yet. There were some pre-storm damages that we need to address. Our ACs, we have 7 ACs that are down. And how many roofs need to be replaced?
We have 5 roofs that need to be replaced.
Has any of that been claimed with any type of damage from Barrel?
We are in the process of putting all those things in for the claim, but it will not cover the entire expense. In roof repairs alone, for example, we're probably looking upwards of $2 million when it's all said and done because of how many roofs we would need to replace.
Okay.
And the ACs, probably this amount would probably just be enough to get the ACs because, and I said 7 AC units, but I believe it's a lot more because I know one building in particular is missing several units. So there's quite a few units that need to be replaced for that. If you remember originally, there were ideas and conceptuals of doing your service center with that. Thankfully, Kyle's been able to do a lot of that work ahead of time. and through our in-house efforts to try to get the service center cleaned up. And those are some things that we feel that we might have a better chance through Barrel to actually attain.
All right, yeah, I just want to leave it with, I would strongly oppose any type of software changes until we get a forensic audit. A very, very in-depth forensic audit. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So I'm gonna disagree on the new software. I think our IT department can save all the information we have, because I don't know if I can go through another budget season like we've just gone through without wanting to stab myself in the eye with an unsharpened pencil. So, and at the beginning of the year, we were told we had somewhere between 12 and 18 months before this software was not going to have any updates to it again. So that and then the water usage client software, I thought we had also talked about making sure that was procured in 2025, not 2026, because every citizen wants to make sure that we.
That should be shaded in blue, Councilman. I apologize. We are procuring it here, hopefully in the next meeting or two. Our UB department has already finished that. We're just getting it blessed before we can bring it to you.
Yeah,
That should be shaded in blue.
the
The water usage software.
water
Oh,
usage, so,
yeah.
and all so all that software is getting bundled into one group here. It used to be for the water, for the utility software, everything was
sir.
separated, but yeah, we need, that way people can look at their bills better, know what's going on, and please, I'm sure IT can save all our old data, because we need something better than what we had last year. I
Certainly.
can't do that again.
Certainly.
Were you, was that it, Mr. Ross?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Yancey.
Okay, I do want to say that, how much has been made, from the Republic cleanup that we've been doing with them, the sledge fund?
I'd have to look up that dollar amount. I think we're estimated to be at about $700,000 for the year, but I'd have to look up the exact amount.
Okay, so that's
We're at about, hi everyone, we're at about 600,000 now.
600,000. Okay.
Yes,
Is that Ms. Turner?
yes,
Ms. Turner, are we still estimated to end the year at closer to 700,000
we're estimated, yes.
For the
Thank
end
you,
of the year.
for the end of the fiscal year?
Okay. Now I'm gonna advocate for that water tank, right? And to be removed. I know we took it out
Mhm.
for 150,
Mhm.
so consider that. I
Well-
know we took it out for this time. Remember, we wanted it to be in there on Stonewall, trying to get to either take it out or raise it up. Remember, we were talking about, so we can have with our water pressure issues. And I don't know, maybe that'll be part of the bond. I don't know. But I just wanted to make sure put that in there too, as well as a mosquito truck. I thought we were gonna try to get
The
that.
mosquito truck's been purchased.
Okay, so I can X that off.
The mosquito, it's not a truck. It is a piece of machinery that goes on the back of a pickup truck. That's
Okay.
gonna be used, and it has been purchased.
So we don't need a mosquito truck anymore. I can put that off.
Technically, that's already been.
Okay, all right.
purchased.
That's all I have.
Very
Ms.
good.
Turner, I didn't realize you were online. How much longer do we have on the finance software before it's not going to be updated and good anymore?
I was told maybe about 2 to 3 months ago that is probably going to be a year or a little bit less.
Thank you very
So
much.
I would say a year.
Let me go back to digitizing records. Are we still doing that? I know we took it out.
We've taken that project on in-house.
Okay,
You-
so
the
that's-
council gave us the authority to do that last year through the addition of a part-time person to the city clerk's office. And that's a project that we're taking on in-house.
So we can take that off.
It should be off, I think.
Yeah, it's still on there. Well, it's off for at the last column, it is.
Yes, on the
Okay.
last column. So what's on the left column was all the things that you
They went
originally
initially,
wanted to
right.
do.
Okay.
You remember the total first list of projects was well over $13 million and we had to
Right.
narrow it down and cut it down. So that
Right.
was on the list originally and we slowly had to cut it down to get. to
Yeah,
the
I just want to make sure that if we still wanted it, that this would be the time to say something about it, but you're saying you've already dealt with it.
where
Okay.
Ms. Kiera's office is dealing with that. And I'll just venture to say as well that because we're taking the items that were presented to you in the green section
Mhm.
and purchasing them out of utility fund or covering those expenses out of utility fund,
Mhm.
that surplus that's provided by Republic will not be there because we would use those funds for that.
Okay.
So this would be a way to allocate funds for police and fire supplies to get them to them a little bit sooner, to address the needs that they have today.
All right. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
I have just for clarity. When we discussed the streetlight conversions. I know we're paying for refresh my memory. We're paying for the new lights going in there, correct?
That's one of the expenses, yes, sir.
And what else, this 100 and something?
So the idea, if you remember with the light study was we currently have about 1,100 lights. The plan calls to add well over 1,000 new lights. Before we started adding the new lights, we need to convert our current lights to LEDs. So this is part of that conversion plan. Remember when the light study was done, presented by your engineer, we have an approximate cost for the entire amount. In addition to that, we have sought through your approval for some grant funding to try to expedite that process and help us get some of the funds necessary to get the lighting that we need to complete that study.
So that 164 represents the cost of the LEDs, the new LEDs,
Part of the cost, yes, sir.
part of the cost.
Yes, sir.
Is in that 164 any new LEDs like I've been requesting on Duro?
We're still allocating which sections we're doing as we do them, depending on Texas, New Mexico, or Center Point. But I believe, and I'm sorry, I'm going by memory, I believe that's one of the ones that's in the first round, but I don't, right now, off the top of my memory, I don't have a very quick answer. I apologize.
And as to the sidewalk planning, I don't guess you have any advanced planning as to identifying greatest needs, but I always am concerned as parts of just driving around. I've been around near Lamarque a long time, along sections of Lake Road that don't have any sidewalk and people walking along the side of the edge of the street. That's it on that side. Thanks, and thank you for the updated list.
Thank you.
And I know we had talked about that, right? About some of that sidewalk. I thought that was gonna be another project that we have.
It is a separate project.
Right.
It is part of the Livable Communities grant that we applied through for HCAC.
Right.
One of the areas that it would attack would be the entire Lake Road to go from the Union of 45 all the way to Texas Ave.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Susan,
Yes, sir.
how many heavy equipment operators do we have? How many positions?
Five, Mayor. Sorry, I'm going real quick by memory.
We have 5 heavy equipment operators.
Total, yes, sir. That includes excavators, skid steer.
How many would be assigned to the street department?
The idea you just approved for one, and there's one currently there. So it would be a total of 2, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going by memory, Mayor, that may be 6, but I'd have to go back and double check that.
My next question would be, to your knowledge, have we ever done this in-depth level of street rehabilitation before? My memory escapes me. James, what do you think?
to my knowledge from the brief history lesson that I've had is that there has been a lot of, there used to be an entire streets team, street equipment fully staffed. At some point, some type of change occurred. And that staffing was drastically removed. The equipment was never replaced. It became obsolete. It was never replaced. And thus that was the essentially the end of a street department. But we've never had operators to the extent of what is being proposed that we would need. to
So
move
we've never
forward.
done this level. I know that we.
To my knowledge.
Right, we've had
To
a
my
street
knowledge.
department. I remember that, but I guess my question was, have we ever been to this level of reconstruction or rehabilitation?
To my knowledge, no. I think there was a street team in the past that would routinely do streets or was routinely attempting to do streets, but I do not see that that's been something that's been happening in the foreseeable past.
How many people in the street department total?
9.
How many coming from this budget? The one we are working on now.
This budget proposes 2 additional.
So
So
we
it
have
was-
7.
No, you have 9 now.
We have 9.
You're proposing to add 2, so it would take it to 11 by
11
end of year. Yes, sir.
And what processes or procedures do we have for making these assessments, these designs and plans, and the reconstruction of streets to this level?
Certainly. Well, this council authorized earlier this calendar year a street assessment to be done by our engineering group. The street assessment is nearing completion. It should be done in 4 weeks. I just talked to engineering today about that subsequently. So once that is done, they will give us their list of assessment of all of our streets to tell us which ones are in worse conditions and graded. Once that's done, then it'll be council's decision whether, well, we would make recommendations, obviously, to decide which streets get done, which ones we might put in a bond, which ones we may ask the county for assistance, and depending on timing as to what we would do. That would take care of the preliminary design, so we can get a cost estimate, so we know what to go out to search for. Once that's done, then the actual design takes place. So in depth, if it needs engineering, if you're going to switch to concrete, if you're going to add curb and gutter, whatever nuances of each individual street may be, would then be included at that time. Then at that time, we would put it out to bid to actually do the actual streets. What the equipment that is shown today here was more to do any prep work. That's what the zipper was going to do, or by the pothole trailer that's still in the list, we would go out and repair and make better, more efficient repairs of potholes. With the concrete saw, with anything that we would need to do those repairs, we would do and the roller, we would not just dump asphalt into a hole. We would cut a hole out, and that's what our team would do in-house. We would cut a sizable hole that would be matched by this pothole trailer and the roller and whatever equipment is on this ARPA list to purchase.
So we don't necessarily need this zipper.
If the intent was to go out and get the zipper to do some of the preliminary work to reduce some of the costs from any, if the intent is to do a bunch of streets in the next 5 to 10 years, having a zipper in-house is helpful because we can go out and do, I don't want to call it the prep work, but the tearing up to get to a certain level to even it out.
Yeah.
That's what we would
I
do
get
at
that.
that point.
So where is the study, the data behind that? Where is the we believe we can save 28% of taxpayer dollars if we do this part in-house, right? Where's the data to back that assertion up?
Certainly. The only data that we have is when we did the bond project recently.
Yeah.
Those expenses that were incurred, even though we didn't pay for it, it came through the bond, obviously. What percentage of those expenses were indeed that project, that part of the project? So obviously there's still going to be labor costs, there's still going to be gas for the equipment, whatever we choose to do with this, but that's where that would come from. So I don't have that exact
Yeah.
number to share with you, but that's where the cost savings would have been estimated, that it would have made sense to do a good portion of that. As we know, with street work, as with many of the contractor works, the majority of what you're going to spend is going to be in labor. And that's where the cost savings was going to be found by having that piece of equipment, should you choose to keep it or not.
Yeah, I just don't know that we're there personally.
Certainly.
I don't know that we're there yet. I think that we take baby steps into this new street team. Lower the expectations we struggle in other areas of service sometimes, especially as it relates to infrastructure. And so we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. And if we can personally, right? Council may think differently, and that's okay too. But if we could, in my opinion, if we could redirect those funds to outfit more police cars. And one of the things that is the crown jewel of our city is this Safe City Initiative, right?
Certainly.
Why not move continuously forward in making our community safer? This is a thing that we continue to tout nationally, right?
Yes, sir.
And even regionally. If that's true, why not allocate that to something that we know will have a benefit? Just a question.
No, very fair question, Mayor. We try to be as aggressive as possible to get all that stuff funded through grants. Unfortunately, we haven't been as successful as we would have probably wished for. But the idea was also to share the wealth and also address some of the streets, but reducing our costs.
That's fair. That's fair.
But if it's the will to focus on that, I'm fully supportive. I'm sure everybody would be fully supportive of that as well.
Sure. Just food for thought.
Certainly.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't think this effort to deal with our streets, which we know is an issue that we have here in the city. Individuals have come up to us and said, please. And so I applaud that we're at least and sometimes our city manager is so articulate, but just to get down to just simple explanation. This device or this piece of equipment would ideally be used to give you an idea of what occurred on Volney. Volney was a street that at the end of the street, where we have is it a sewer pump lift station?
Lift station.
We have a sewer lift station that had some challenges which were dealt with. But as a result of the history of that lift station, there had been at times reported discharges of sewer in the ditches in the area there. And as such, the street, which was originally at some point some sort of asphalt, actually I'll take it back. At some point it was just shell, and then they did some asphalt over that. And in the process of dealing with the issues at the lift station, as part of, I think, the GLO, our funding with the GLO, then Rick was able to, utilizing the contractors, in that case, we utilized the contractor, I think. But we were able to basically pave that area, but we used, a lot of it was our own staff, as was explained to me. Is that accurate, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem. So what happened is we had the vendors of the asphalt zipper come out and give us a demonstration on that street. So they were able to do it. And also our staff was able to train on it so they could learn how to use it should we choose to purchase it. What that did is it essentially scraped the street down to its, I don't want to call it bare bones, but it scraped the street down to where it was nice and level. And then the contractor was then sought to come and then repave or add the skim coat that came on top to replenish what had been shaved back, essentially.
And so that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you're so articulate, but it's just simple stuff. Just to say, as a result of this, in terms of the work, it would have cost us X amount of dollars, but it really, as a result of this, having this piece of equipment, in effect, lent by the company, which you've utilized, and you understand how it works, is now going to enable us to undertake a project in conjunction with some third party, a contractor that's just doing the asphalt part of the work.
That's correct.
Or in some cases, such as perhaps the Jefferson Street, that may be a bit more working with the contractor, since it's commercial. I consider it commercial because of the traffic on A&A. That might require concrete to stabilize that particular property over there. So that's how I'm looking at it, right? We've utilized this piece of equipment. We've accomplished something. And so we can do the little things. We can do westward now. Go take a look at westward at the very end. Go take a look at it's called the Amber this way, where that new contractor, the new development there is going to stabilize the street from Main Street to the entrance to the new subdivision. They indicated that in their presentation. But the rest of Amber there has deep potholes. Actually, it has just big holes in the street as you go around. As you go around the backside, and I don't know the name of that street.
Newman.
Newman. I'm sorry, it's Newman. Amber is the Tech City side. Newman. Then that's also areas which I'm envisioning would be properly utilized with this particular piece of equipment. And that's how I look at it. So on that side.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone
So
else?
my only issue with the asphalt zipper is we are good at getting something started and not having the crew behind us to follow up with what we're doing. And I'd really hate to see us tear up a piece of road and then it be a week, kind of like when TxDOT did Highway 3, and because of the weather and everything, it not being worked on for another 6 weeks. That will come back on top of us. So the question is it worth us dealing with the headache or just the company that's doing it being responsible for it?
Yeah,
And there's a 50-50. I mean, it's, I see both sides of the coin. We just need to make sure we have guarantees that we do this portion and you're coming in right behind us.
And that's more of a planning and a management side of things, but again, fair enough. I could see both sides of that scenario,
yeah,
but whatever the council proceeds
Sure,
with will
sure.
be more. This was something that was allocated before,
absolutely.
prior to us knowing a lot.
Absolutely, yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think as well that we need to get rid of that, the zipper and probably allocate those funds towards our police department. You know, they're fighting a war on crime right now. Drugs, gangs. It's bad out there. So again, we got to give them the tools that they need. Just in the difference between the fire department funds and the PD funds and in this ARPA stuff is only $81,000 roughly. I just quick addition, but $80,000 difference. But they've been kicked down the road for 26 years. One officer said, next year's your year, next year's your year. So not to take anything away from our fire department, but let's make it their year. I really think that, you know, they're fighting a war. We got to give them the tools that they need in order to achieve their goals. And I don't think anybody up here, I just think that we need to they got a lot on their hands and we need to give them the tools they need. And, you know, just by the numbers, you know, $80,000 difference is not, I mean, that's one body, you know, that's one person to work. I mean, that's not making it their year, in my opinion. I think we need to do more for them. I think now's our chance. Just my thoughts.
Mr. Osteen, if you want to add a comment,
Yes, to the stripper.
name and address, please.
James Osteen, 2012 Giordano.
Yes, sir.
Take in consideration if you strip the road yourself and then you have a contractor come in, there may be a warranty issue here on the street. They may fall back and say, well, y'all didn't strip it right or something, but you want to take that in consideration.
Yeah, thank you for that, sir. Thank you for that.
Excuse me. I would like some more information
On that,
to know on warranties. I have never heard of warranties on work. There's warranties on certain things, on the products that used, but in terms of the work, I'm not familiar with that, James.
100%.
Gus,
They're absolutely.
hold on a minute.
Yeah, so-
Mr. Osteen. I'll let you finish that response and then I want to go to Gus. Go ahead.
Okay, the road over there on Newman Road by my warehouses and by that
Oh, yeah,
school,
right,
that was like a 25-year warranty on that street.
okay,
Contractor guaranteed it for 25 years.
very good.
Gus,
Yes, Mayor.
is the $50,000 that we're discussing tonight, if by next meeting, by the second reading, we have the information that we're needing to be able to make a decision one way or the other, would that be such a substantial change that we would have to start over?
Likely, yes, Mayor. Just because generally changes in dollars, we have said is a substantial change. Yes.
Okay. Well, council, let's get to it. I will entertain an amendment to this ordinance, right, Gus?
That's fine. Yes, Mayor.
I will entertain an amendment to this ordinance to reallocate the $50,000 dedicated to a asphalt zipper to the city manager recommended. Is it MCT? Is that what you said?
The
Mobile command terminals.
Yes,
Because that was also your second recommendation, correct?
yes.
I will entertain that motion, that amended motion.
Make a motion to amend the $50,000 for the asphalt zipper to the mobile command terminals for the police department.
Is that second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will entertain a motion to approve the city manager's recommendation for ARPA funds with that amendment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item 5.2, ordinance number letter O-2024-0017, making appropriations for the support of the city of Lamarque for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30, 2025, appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal due on the city's indebtedness and adopting the annual budget of the city of Lamarque for the 2024-2025 year. I will let's do this. Mr. Garcia, did you want to explain this? So that we all are up to speed here and at home.
Certainly. Mayor, this item is in effect the first reading of the budget that you guys have spent the last 2.5 weeks reviewing. This would be approving the budget as was allocated with the proposed tax rate of the 39 cents. And I'm pardoned for the decimal points for not knowing the full decimal point. Having said that, this budget is the recommendation, matching the recommendation to the tax rate based on the requests that were made for the allocation of those funds.
Very good. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
The second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Hold on
Item,
1 second. I think I need
Is this
voice
voice vote?
votes for
Okay.
both of these.
go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Nance.
Sorry, Councilmember District A,
4.
Councilmember District B,
Four.
Councilmember District C,
Or
Councilmember District D,
4.
and Mayor.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 5.3, ordinance number letter O-2024-0018, levying an ad valorem tax for use of an operation of a municipal government, the city of Lamarque, Texas, for the 2024 tax year, providing for all apportioning each levy for specific purposes, providing when taxes shall become due and when the same shall become delinquent if not paid. Mr. Garcia, a brief explanation, please, sir.
Yes, Mayor. This essentially is approving the tax rate of the 39 cents that was proposed by council. And I know Kiera's got to read off the actual decimal points, but this is in summary to approve that tax rate for the fiscal year to match the budget that you just approved.
Very good. Is there, there used to be language that we needed to read for this, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, y'all cut out briefly. Could you ask your question again, please?
We were waiting on, no, we didn't have a question for you. We were waiting on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know, actually, you might be able to answer this.
Sure.
We're at, item 5.3, where we're approving the actual tax rate. I was asking Ms. Nance about certain language. You know, I remember us having to read certain language times past. I don't know if that was simply because it would be an overall tax increase as far as the amount of taxes levied, or not. I don't know if that was associated with that or if it's a standard to this actual ordinance.
Right. So I'll wait for Kiera and Christine to weigh in too. But in the past, Mayor, when the council adopted a rate above the no new revenue rate, there is language in chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code
Exactly.
about what you have to say to adopt a rate above the no new revenue rate. The rate that the rate that the budget is based on and that you all are proposing to adopt, or that is on the table to be adopted, is the no new revenue rate. So
are you recommending that we don't have to read specific language because we're not raising any additional tax revenue?
y'all could include that language if you so chose to.
Let's do that.
If you were going to include that language, we would need to know the percentage by which the proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue rate, which is 0. So you could say, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of the tax rate of then the rate you're proposing, which is effectively a 0% increase in the tax rate, because the percentage by which it exceeds the no new revenue rate is 0. Does that make sense?
It does. Kiara, do you have the tax rate available?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second.
So would a
Okay. Mr.
motion
Ross.
to adopt the no new revenue rate be okay, or does it need to be specific to the number with the 0%?
I would ask that you reference the specific number you are proposing.
Okay.
No sports vote too.
Okay. Your no new revenue rate is going to be 0.398501.
0.398501.
Yes.
All right, let me try to do this, Gus, and
Okay, I can write out the exact language for whoever would like it. So with the
are you gonna do that?
rate in it, I could do it real quick.
Okay. Really quick is like 10 seconds.
I got
Okay.
you.
Got it?
Yes, who's making the motion?
Let me see it. Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
All right, council. I will entertain a motion that the property tax be
Increase.
increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 398501, which is effectively a 0% increase in the tax rate.
So moved.
Is that a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? To be clear, this is a tax rate reduction. We are going from 41 cents down to 39 cents, right? Which is the no new revenue rate.
Yes, sir.
So we are not increasing taxes. We are decreasing the tax rate, and the revenue generated will be the same.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will
That
defer
was
to
a weird bit of
Christine.
language.
I think so.
It's a weird bit of language, but we want to be clear.
Yes,
Any further discussion?
I have to do a voice vote.
Proceed.
Councilmember District A,
Aye.
Councilmember District B,
Yes.
Councilmember District C,
4.
Councilmember District D,
Aye.
and Mayor.
Aye. Thank you, ma'am. Item 5.4, citywide solid waste collection. Considering options presented to council for solid waste collection beginning October 1st, 2024. Council, before we are reminded of what those rates and possibilities were, I want to remind us that there are actually 5 options tonight. There are 3 options that have been provided to us by Republic Waste. The fourth
Waste
option,
management.
excuse me, I'm sorry, Waste Management. The fourth option is
Hey.
the council can decide to go out for bids, right? The 5th option is council can decide that they somehow seemingly want to do this in-house. Just wanted to let you know there are 5 options out there. Now, having said that, I believe Mr. Garcia is going to review for us the 3 from Waste Management.
Yes, sir.
Republic is a
It's-
sludge company,
That's correct.
and we were
Who
talking
also
sludge,
happens to do also waste
trash
management,
as
so.
well. They used to be our company. Go ahead.
Mayor, so briefly, there were 2 things that were being discussed to be put on this contract amendment. One was the allocation of commercial trash, commercial sanitation to be covered and billed directly by Waste Management. That was the first option, so we could start there. The options coincided with the idea of it being for them to direct bill all of our businesses, if we chose to do that. And you asked us to bring back to you what some of the other cities were charging. Actually, could you go down a little bit to show the agenda form? No, or up, excuse me, a little bit to show the agenda form. Sorry. It's actually, yeah, there you go. So if you notice here on your agenda form, this is what some of the other cities are charging. If you notice, the city of Baytown charges a 10% franchise fee. City of Deer Park has a 12% franchise fee for commercial plus an 8% billing. City of Galveston has an 8% franchise fee. Looks like City of Pasadena has a 15, and City of Seabrook has 15 and an 8% billing fee. You asked us to bring you some other nearby cities and what their fees were for the commercial service. So that's the first part of what direction we want to make sure we can bring you back an accurate contract. I think for the most part, the consensus was that we want to venture into the idea of doing commercial direct bill by Waste Management and having a franchise fee. So what we'd like for you to do tonight, if you could please give us a direction on, yes, we do want you to do that, and B, what the fees would be, if any, whatever your choices would be. The second part tonight that we're asking for is, as Mayor, you mentioned, which option you want to do as far as the residential sanitation, which is what this portion is, and what the rates would be. So if you notice down, Cal, could you go down to the next slide there? Option 1, this was the rate would be 5% increase each year. Mathematically, this was the one that made the most sense. It would take effect, obviously, whenever we took place to do it. It would continue their $75,000 in annual contributions, and it would be from the October 1st of 2024 through September 30th of 2029 to be renegotiated at that time, should we want to go with this extension. And then going down, option 2 would be a residential rate that would be actually higher, and it goes down through the end. If you remember the analysis that we did on those sheets, this is a little bit more cost inhibitive for the first 3 to 4 years of the actual plan. And option 3 was a rate that is also still higher, even still, It does change after a certain amount and it does go higher. This was the highest of the three. But it did cover 26 through 29. It would be not to exceed 3% for the CPI. So there'd be an annual rate cap essentially from 26 to 29. That's a summary of the three options that they proposed.
So the first option is a 5%.
5% increase, which puts it at 2664 for this upcoming year.
What about the preceding year, the following years?
It would be 5% more than that.
5%, 5%, 5%.
5% per year. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For clarity purposes, we're deciding both the rate, but we are renewing the contract, if correct, for how many years, for present member?
This would be for 5 years.
For 5 years.
Yes, sir.
So it's a 5%, that option one is a 5% increase for each of the 5 years.
Per year. Yes, sir.
And you said the other two options
Could you
were
scroll up
actually
that?
higher?
In the long run, they end up being higher. If you look at the next one here, the increase of 2740 was actually a 10% in year one, and then not to exceed a 4% cap year by year. So if it did receive a full 4% cap, then this one is the second closest over the span of time.
Yeah.
And then option three, if you could just scroll up, please, Kyle, is actually just about a 10% increase, followed by another 10% increase, and then a 3% per year annual cap rate. So it caps at 3% versus 4% versus 5% of the other one.
All of these are 5 years.
All of them are 5 years. Yes, sir.
The last contract was how many years? 5? 5 years. I'm looking at Kyle because he was here, not.
I
Was it
It was
wanted,
7.
it was
7 years? Okay.
And that's with Venetia that's on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Venetia.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And during the 7-year period of the initial term, there were never any increases,
Yes, sir. There was an increase of 3% every year on October 1st.
just the 3%.
Yes, sir.
Council, first things first, let's see if there's an appetite for doing anything other than negotiating with waste management. And so I'll open the floor if there is any discussion about that. If we don't want to do that, we don't have to speak. We can move past that part, but I'll open the floor for that. Any persons wishing to explore opening this garbage waste contract for the bid process?
I personally believe that this contract is a good one. I know I was here when we had Republic before. I was not satisfied with Republic. Our residents of District A, they definitely saw that it was better. I believe option one is pretty much the status quo.
Hold up, Councilwoman. Before we get to that, let me make sure. Anyone wanting to discuss opening this for bids? Not hearing that. Any person on this council wishing to discuss bringing this responsibility in-house? Crickets on that one. Did you have something, Mr. Ross?
I don't think we at this time can bring it in-house.
Very good. That's all we need to know. Crickets on that one. Go ahead, Ms. Yancey. You were done?
I was asking a question about option one. That I really can't see that. I
Yeah.
just remember from the packet.
Yes,
Option one was what we already have right now, typically. Isn't it similar?
correct. The only thing that would change with these options, separate of which would be if council so chooses, would be removing commercial sanitation, and they would direct bill, at which
Right.
time you would have a franchise fee assessed, whatever fee you choose.
Okay. Can I get a copy of that so I can look at it?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor,
Yes,
how
sir.
do we know if we're getting a good deal? We're not comparing it to anything but their numbers of A, B, C, D. So we have no idea what we're getting. because we don't have anything to compare it to. So it probably should go to bid, so we have something to compare it to know if we're getting a good deal. We're comparing nothing right now, so we have nothing to say this is a good deal. I mean, I would get something to compare it to in order to say that it's a good deal.
Anyone else? Did you have a response to that, Mr. Garcia?
That's the different options.
Do you have a recommendation on this? Or did you have a response to?
I do not have a response, but I do know Ms. Shana is online, should we need to ask her any specific questions for that. At which time, if the decision would be to open up to bid, what that would look like for a time frame, and would we have to sign some form of temporary extension while that was done?
Yeah.
The
Miss
contract right now is set to expire September 30th.
Ms. Lopez, did you want to respond to that?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hi, this is Shanna Lopez with Waste Management. As Mr. Garcia has expressed, the contract does expire on September 30th of this year. And at this time, there is no provisions for an extension. So a decision would have to be made by the end of September.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm gonna say it again. We don't know what we're comparing. We have nothing to compare it to. And because it's like almost like a high pressure sales now, because we got 30 days till it's done. We probably should have had this a while ago as council members to look over this. But again, we're comparing nothing. We have nothing to compare it to. So this could be a good deal. This could be the best deal, but we don't know because there's nothing to compare it to. So
Certainly. If I can, Ms. Lopez, could you talk about the time frame when you brought this forward and the fact that when it was that you made us aware of this renewal? Because I believe it was either after the first storm or before right after the second storm. Nonetheless, also, what caused the increase? Because we have an actual renewal. We had a renewal that would have been an option to continue this for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Lopez, could you talk to that, please?
Sure. So as you know, from last year when I addressed at the budget workshop and we were discussing that there was 1 year left on the contract and we were talking about renewals and what would happen and would the pricing remain the same and with the increase. And of course, you know, since 2020, with COVID, inflation over the years, the 3% has just not kept us up with the inflationary rise over the years. And so, as you can imagine, you know, we're in the situation of trying to play catch up mode now. I think we could all agree we've delivered a great service to your residents for the last 7 years. You know the service you're getting. We're providing the extra service as far as your at your door service, your recycling service, bulky service, all of those to each of your residents throughout. We've had, you know, COVID, hurricanes, storms, you name it. We've pretty much in the last 7 years went through a whole lot together. And at that time, or any time during this, we haven't went to you guys and said, look, we need more than just the 3%. So at this point, you know, those discussions became evident as we, you know, started talking about the renewal. And, you know, Mr. Garcia is exactly right. We had May storms, we had the hurricane, all of those were during these kind of discussions that we got sidetracked on, you know, how do we assist with cleanup and everything else that's going on. So those were some of the discussions that we've had in trying to come together to give you different options to look at so that we could kind of find a solution that could work for both of us to keep the service levels to a degree that the residents have adapted to and, you know, or need it throughout the community. And so that's where we're at with the different options.
So are we only on one plan now, or is there still the opportunity to swap the biweekly bulk trash pickup? And so opposite weeks of our recycling to help cut down on the cost of our bills.
Absolutely. You could, those options that I provided during the budget workshops and before, those are all on the table, that you have as, discussions so that before the contract is, signed, you can definitely, make those decisions tonight on any of the other options that were provided besides just option A, which is your current service.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem.
On this topic, this is interestingly the one that generated the most calls to me from my area. And, first of all, the comments were, don't change anything in terms of the company. That's number one. Having dealt with other companies and especially back, Dave Pennington back with Republic and Keep Marque Beautiful stuff, it was challenging at times on that side. Certainly on the pickup side, it was challenging. And there are not a lot of players in this industry anymore as well too, the major ones. That's number one. So I'm not interested in changing. I do ask this question. If we pass on, as we've done in the past years, the 3% increase, and we also initiate the franchise fee, and let them handle it, can the increase from the franchise fee, if it's not been otherwise allocated, be used to cover the difference? Because we're really talking about the same number of water users, correct? The 7,000 approximately, correct?
Approximately, yes.
7,000 users. And so from our utility enterprise funding, can we just go ahead and increase it as we've done? Everybody understands the 3% increase on a yearly basis, and then we negotiate what we need to negotiate with Waste Management on the franchise fee, and then use that fund to cover the remaining 2%. Just a thought there.
And Mayor Pro Tem, just to correct you, one of the things that you passed last year during budget for the sanitation increase is that while they were increasing 3%, that we would allocate a 3.5%. So the additional 0.5%. If you notice, those cities, they had a billing fee. That 0.5% would have represented what our billing fee was to cover whatever admin costs are associated with that. So you passed that this past year at 3.5 versus 3. So while they were going up 3, you allotted us to go 3.5. So whatever that difference was, we want to try that as a trial for this past year.
Yeah. Well, sounds like I've heard 2 or 3 folks say that we want to move, continue to move with Waste Management. Good thought, Mayor Pro Tem, about the franchise fee part of that, if not a significant portion, being used to help allay some of the cost increases. Good idea. Try to help us in a pinch.
Mayor, and if I can, I want to just highlight this sheet. If you look at up top there, what it says, the 2613, where option 0 with the current rate at next year's rate, that was going to go up regardless to 2613. So the difference between your current option 1 right now, or option A, whichever you look at it, is a difference between 2664 and 2613. At the 3% versus the 5%, that's what the difference would be, where it shows a much greater increases over the subsequence of the rest of the years. But in year 1, that difference is roughly 41 cents. It looks like, if my math is right, at 51 cents.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's what we can do is, council, we're going to need a motion to move forward with a franchise fee. We'll need to allocate that percentage. Looks like the majority of them were 15%.
Yeah, they range from 10 to 15, but yes, sir.
And we need to also in that motion give Waste Management our commercial billing operation.
Correct.
And then we need to decide which option, all in one motion.
And Mayor, if I can, if you wanted to add a billing percentage like some of the cities did, if you could do so, if you wanted to at that time.
But we wouldn't be billing them anymore. You
No.
mean a billing percentage to our own residents?
No, that would be as part of that. So some of the cities, when could you put that back up? Sorry, Kyle. Some of the cities had a billing percentage. Some of them split it in different ways.
But if we wouldn't be doing the billing anymore, why would we want a percentage of the commercial billing?
I don't, this is what the options were that were
Yeah,
presented.
yeah, okay. Well, council could consider that. Yeah.
Well, I just want you to know.
I wouldn't, but I mean,
Just want
it's,
you-
I got you. All right, council,
I think the motion just needs to have a 10% franchise fee.
10% franchise fee? Oh, okay.
Billing.
If, you're saying without the billing fee, I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. So council, I will entertain a motion.
So I would like to talk about what we're gonna contract with Waste Management.
Okay.
Because we keep talking about option 1A, but option 1B, which goes down to bi-weekly bulk trash pickup. Because Waste Management doesn't pick up in areas that aren't homes. So just because we have a pile of trash on the side of the road doesn't mean that they're gonna pick it up. And option 1B actually has a reduction from what our current plan is by 25 cents. Doing quick math there. Starting in 1 October. And I don't know if every house in this city uses bulk trash every week. So maybe going to a bi-weekly is something we could look at and actually give a reduction to the utility bill instead of just raising the utility bill.
Okay, let's move through this quickly. Is there any appetite on this council to entertain Mr. Ross's suggestion that we move our bulk pickup to bi-weekly? Anyone? Very good.
No,
And what else did you have?
no, y'all are willing to lower the tax rate, but you're willing to bill higher.
I could see that. You know, bulk is something that it's always been an issue. It seems like, I could see with definitely going to biweekly on that. And then also if we're giving up billing, then that's going to free up people at the city. So that's going to be positions that aren't going to be filled. So then we got to consider that as well.
But that may not necessarily be true, Councilmember Lowry. Ms. Henderson,
Yes.
how much of an employee or percentage of an employee do you use on commercial billing?
Just commercial billing or is it
What?
gonna-
It's commercial, only commercial.
That would be a percentage.
Percentage,
Is that a whole employee?
it will actually, each of us has a part in commercial billing, so I don't, I would say about 35-40% probably for billing commercial.
Did you want to?
I just wanted to add the fact that the operation itself, because of how many people actually are involved, it involves more than one person for a certain percentage of time. And it fluctuates, right, as to when the cycles are. So that is something we'd have to list how much, hey, all right, I spent 15 minutes here, another hour there to know the percentage of time. But I do want to also just keep in mind that this is a department that is still one position short that we froze from the actual
Gotcha.
rollback.
Gotcha.
So they already are they're already one person down with an increase in actual accounts.
So so that position that was frozen, you've already basically done away with that.
Correct.
So you've already made that.
Correct.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense.
We've already increased efficiencies enough to eliminate that, I think. it'd be too much of a burden to now take anything else away.
Okay, very
Because
good.
we're also taking care of a lot more accounts now than we were a few years
Well,
ago.
I think you answered the question when you said that there was a position that was frozen that you did away with. So that knocks you down one anyway.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Yancey.
One reason why we wanted to stay with option A, when I was on Keep Marque Beautiful with Joe, we went through an extensive education program. When the city decided to go with waste management and Shanna came and we were able to set up a standard for recycling. That was a lot of work that went into that and making sure. That's why our residents, a lot of my residents have said they don't want it to change, that they like that it's every week, because then you got to remember if it's is this the week or if it's next week, you know it's every week when you do your bulk trash. And Keep Lamar Beautiful plays a big part of this. At least we did when I was on the board. I believe that still continues today, as far as educating our residents about littering and recycling, which is huge right now. So that's why I think we need to stick with option A, especially with everything we have going on with not knowing. 'Cause I believe we have 2 storms in the Gulf right now, right? Yeah, so we just never know what's gonna happen. And they've been very, very responsive when we call them, and I just don't think we need to change it right now, because that is one of this council has done, and the previous council, this is one of the best changes I think you all did was bringing in this company, because you saw those complaints were eradicated, basically.
And before Mayor Pro Tem steps in, Mr. Ross, you do bring up a valid argument. We are trying to keep the cost down, and that's true. So I think that I would hope that Mayor Pro Tem's suggestion of perhaps what could we do with that franchise fee meet your expectations of keeping those costs down, right? So that we can do a win-win. But I hear you. I hear you, and that's important. I don't want to run over what you said about keeping costs down. I hear you.
I literally, and I'm willing to pay the $80 a year for a service I don't use in trash pickup, which is the recycling, because my daughter and I can't generate enough trash to use it more than twice a year. So, and that's 2 people. We don't have that much bulk at our house either.
Right.
It's not something that we could, but I'm willing to help pay and keep it, but can we reduce it just like twice the opposite week of recycling?
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. In an effort to keep the cost down.
Right.
And so I'm with you on there. Even if the council doesn't agree to reduce the frequency, I'm with you and advocating for keeping that cost where it would have normally been. Mayor Pro Tem, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just comment on Councilmember Ross's observation. I understand it also as a single person, and when I do have family in, it's about the time that we utilize more of the. I'll just go back and say this generated the most calls I've had on anything. This was hold it. I think the comment was made. If we're complaining now that mattresses on the side of our roads are not picked up within that week, and we're going to delay this, you're going to see a bunch of more mattresses out for a longer period of time, and that's particularly true of some of our apartment complexes that are out there.
They don't do bulk pickup.
They don't, and they don't,
commercial.
yeah, on there. So that's something that needs to be, on the commercial side, is I would comment that we do waste, Shanna, we need to do a little bit better in terms of the discussions I hope that you have with our city management on the commercial side. Let's not leave stuff there in those containers along the side. But But as I said, I just encourage us to be a bit innovative in terms of looking at redirecting the franchise fee toward covering the increases. And that way, we're doing the 3%. Everybody can count on the 3% and close out the contract and then start the work a year before, make that little stickler on there that we need to go out. Well, we're gonna have to go out and rebid this contract at that point, you know, on that side. We're gonna have to, maybe there'll be more companies out there. Maybe Joseph will start getting involved in the garbage business, huh? And that's so.
Heard he am.
Oh, right.
And literally the bulk trash pickup that I have, the areas that have the most or the worst are areas that aren't a customer because it's just an empty lot and they're not gonna stop there. Or it's a commercial property and waste management's not gonna stop there. The rest of the places, they pick up every Friday in that area.
Yeah.
But it's the areas that they're not responsible to pick up that are the problem. So it's not customers, it's everybody else. And
Right.
we have to figure out how to get rid of the illegal dumping or the apartments that have evicted somebody and just put a whole pile of a that's on us in code to fix.
Yeah.
But that's the
Miss Yancy.
danger though, you know, if you do bi-weekly. And they are listening because they're texting me saying, please hold the line once a week, but bi-weekly would mean that some bulk trash could sit on the street for almost 2 weeks before being removed. And we used to see that with the previous contractor. And we don't want to see that. And that was one of the reasons why we went to weekly, because we did want to see the couches, the mattresses, not just from apartments, but from, you know, people being moved out. We do have a large number of Section 8 homes as well in Marque. So a lot of times you saw things stay out on the streets for days at a time. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to do bulk, because we want to make sure our city is beautiful and looks nice. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do you want to add something?
Just a quick comment to make. The difference between what is known as option 0 that's on your screen up there is what it would be had we not had to renew at a higher rate, versus the second number where it says option 1 total is the 5% increase. If you notice that amount, the difference, it's only about a roughly $45,000 difference in year 1. If you were to raise, and you said you wanted to use the franchise fee, Venetia's online, I believe she can confirm that we bring in about $900,000 in commercial billing per year. If you did do 10%, that's only $90,000, whatever percent is decided upon. So that $90,000 is only going to cover it for year 1. But if you look at year 2, by year 2, you'd be right back in the same predicament. So just keep that in mind as you're deciding the option of what was mentioned about the franchise fee. I think Mayor Pro Tem mentioned possibly whatever the franchise fee that is allocated, 10% of the 900,000 is only $90,000 that would be brought upon. That $90,000 would represent it would only do good for year 1 and then year 2. But after year 2, going into year 3, 4, and 5, we'll be right back.
Well, but that 90 will grow though, because there's going to be a 5% increase on those commercial accounts as well.
Certainly,
That's growth.
certainly.
It's going to grow. It's going to grow with it.
Yes, absolutely. As we continue growing 5 versus 3, that percentage will change. So whatever whatever that looks like for that. At this point, we're not involved with commercial billing anymore. Whatever that fee is, that's between Waste Management and then the client.
Right.
But just whatever our percentage would be, then whatever you dictate that, just keep that in mind as you're deciding whatever percentage you want.
Yes.
All right. Let's get a couple of more statements, and then we're going to bring this horse into the barn.
The barn, yeah.
Ms. Yancey, did you want to follow? Let
Um,
Ms. Yancey, and then Mayor Pro Tem will end with you.
Ms. Lopez, I know part of your contract was to donate towards our youth services. Is that still a part of the contract?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And it's still at 50,000?
No.
So it's a total of 75,000. 50,000 is for the Bayou Fest, and then the 25,000 is allocated to the youth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
In terms of planning, this franchise fee, to your point, Mr. Garcia, as with anything, we've got increases that occur on the individual accounts. On the franchise fee side, we should incorporate annual increases as well for the businesses, so that we're not going into the hole. You know, the second year might be a 1% or add 1% up to the max of in the fifth year of the contract, right? And that's how I would deal with something.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, but we get your point. We'll have to adjust that, make adjustments possibly if we're looking to allay the extra costs to Mr. Ross's point. But as we close this discussion, Mr. Ross, I too have been contacted, and specifically about waste management, how people feel that they have benefited us as a city, and about bulk. For when we were talking about possibly doing bulk in-house, that's when there was the most activity from our residents. So they appreciate that. But we will, to your point, we'll keep that cost down on them through this franchise fee and try to go from there. If there's nothing further, I will entertain a motion to assess a franchise fee of 10% on all commercial garbage and waste disposal accounts, as well as how do you want to word this? Gus, how do we word?
Can we have them be two separate motions?
We could do that. We could do that.
Thank
You want to do three separate? Because one of them we'll have to pick a rate, right?
One is for the franchise. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we can do three. One
Let's
for
do
the
three.
franchise fee, one for the.
Gus, help me
commercial.
with two. I'm gonna need help with two, with the one where we're giving the billing back to, or giving the billing of commercial accounts to waste management. So let's do the first, let Gus work on the second. I will entertain a motion that this council assess a franchise fee of 10% on all commercial garbage and waste disposal accounts.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Gus, do you have the language for item two, for the second motion?
You want language saying to let waste management handle the commercial billing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just make a motion that the city contract with waste management or directing the city manager to prepare a contract with waste management to handle the commercial billing.
I will entertain a motion that we direct the city manager to prepare a contract with waste management for the billing of all commercial garbage and waste disposal accounts in the city of Lamarque.
Including, just for clarity, including the collection of the franchise fee?
No, we already did the franchise fee.
No,
Just
the
talking about-
franchise fee is for,
Including the collection and disbursement of the franchise fee.
that's for commercial accounts. Yeah.
Is that the motion?
That's the motion, right, Gus?
That's fine.
Okay. I will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The third one is for us to choose an option. I will entertain a motion on option 1, 2, or 3 to approve option 1, 2, or 3 with waste management.
I move that we approve option A or option 1.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you very much, council. There is no executive session. There are no actions to take from that executive session. So we're at item 8. I will,
Point an inquiry. In that latter motion, are we also directing, or are we given a sense of the council to the city manager to try to work out the numbers on to keep the increase to 3%. This is now us internally as a city, to keep the increase.
I
The
don't
3%?
think we did. I think we
No.
can come back on that though.
So that the sanitation rates are set by ordinance, we would have to bring those back to you as
Yeah.
a separate item. They're two separate. The rates that we're charged by waste management are not necessarily the rates that we charge the residents. That's done in a separate item, which is scheduled to be brought back to you guys on the ninth.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it will be brought back on the.
Yeah, it was brought back.
Okay.
So that's what Waste Management's charging us per house. That's not gonna be what's actually seen on a bill.
Yeah, okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campion. Before we, entertain a motion to adjourn, I will yield the floor for a point of personal privilege. Councilmember Yancey.
I just wanted to tell my husband, Clint Yancey, today is our anniversary, 30 years married,
Wow.
and I'm here with the council. I love you, babe. Y'all keep praying for us. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Happy anniversary. Absolutely. I will now entertain that motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.